The polished marble floor of the Morgan Tower lobby echoed with the sharp staccato of my heels, each step ricocheting through the emptiness of a late Tuesday night. Another 14-hour workday behind me, another milestone reached. The client had practically hugged me after my Horizon Brands presentation. $10 million secured in one meeting. On paper, I was winning. In my chest, it felt hollow. The elevator doors slid open with a muted chime. My reflection stared back at me from the mirrored walls. Clara Morgan, 32 today, senior PR executive. Green eyes dulled with fatigue, lipstick faded, exhaustion clinging to me like an expensive perfume I hadn't chosen. I searched my own face for something worth celebrating. My phone screen glowed back at me, stubbornly empty. No calls, no messages, zero. I told myself it didn't matter. Birthdays were for children, not for women who managed multi-million-dollar accounts and survived off cold coffee and adrenaline. But when I opened the door to my apartment, the lie cracked. On the coffee table sat the small cake I'd bought myself that morning. White frosting, a single candle like a soldier awaiting orders that would never come. A pathetic little birthday gift from me to me. "Happy birthday, Clara," I whispered into the silence, my voice snagging on the still air. I kicked off my heels, dropped my leather briefcase, and sank into the sofa. The clock ticked toward midnight. Each second, a drumbeat marking the end of another year spent unseen by the people who should have known me best. My fingers betrayed me. Instead of pulling up tomorrow's proposal on my laptop, I clicked open Facebook. The first post froze me. There was my brother, Ethan Morgan, champagne glass raised high, a banner behind him that read, "Congratulations on your promotion." The family surrounded him, beaming. My father's arm draped proudly across his shoulder, my mother clutching him as if he were royalty. Dozens of photos, dozens of smiling faces, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, all gathered together on my birthday. The comments were worse. "So proud of our superstar," my father had written. "The Morgan legacy continues," my mother added. I scrolled further. My hands shook. Each picture was a blade reopening an old wound. Unwanted memories forced themselves forward. 11 years old, sitting alone at a restaurant table, one candle sinking into a slice of cake as I waited for my family to return from Ethan's debate competition. 17, shipped off to Grandma's house while they toured Yale with him. My college graduation, hijacked by Ethan's engagement announcement. Even last month, when I raised Horizon's client revenue by 41%, Dad had brushed it off with, "It's just advertising, Clara, not real impact like Ethan's work in finance." My phone rang suddenly, jarring me. I snatched it up, hope fluttering despite myself. "Mom." My chest tightened as I answered. "Hello." I hated how eager I sounded. "Clara, darling," Helen Morgan's voice bubbled through the line. "So glad I caught you. Listen, we're planning something special for Ethan and Jessica's anniversary next month, and I thought you could handle the catering, maybe decorations too. You're so good at those details." The clock struck midnight. My birthday was officially over. "Mom," I said, my voice trembling, "today was my birthday." A pause, then, "Oh, honey, with Ethan's big promotion, it just slipped our mind." Slipped. Their minds. Again. The same script, over and over. But this time, something inside me shifted. My eyes flicked to the laptop screen, an unread email, my performance bonus, $82,000. More money than I'd ever had at once. For a moment, I simply stared, caught between heartbreak and something else rising quietly inside me. Resolve. "Don't worry about it, Mom," I said evenly. My voice sounded different, almost unfamiliar. "I understand exactly what's important to this family." For the first time in 32 years, I truly did. 4 days later, I sat frozen in my Horizon Brands office, sunlight bleeding across the Chicago skyline through floor-to-ceiling glass. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, paralyzed not by deadlines, but by betrayal. On my screen sprawled a digital crime scene. The Morgan family group chat. I hadn't been meant to see it. My mother, Helen, had mistakenly typed my email into the chain, spelling Clara with one N. That one keystroke invited me into the truth. Clara should contribute significantly to Ethan's anniversary gift, my father Daniel had written. At least $25,000. She just received that bonus. Time she supports the family for once. My mother's reply landed like a stone. Yes, she owes it. Ethan's promotion benefits us all. Clara can show gratitude with her success. Gratitude? For what? The words burned into me, sharper than any insult. Then came Ethan's message, slick as always. Also, Clara has connections at Region Tech. Their marketing director could be valuable for my firm. I'll need an introduction. My jaw clenched so tightly, my molars ached. Region Tech was one of my clients, a relationship I had nurtured for years, and Ethan, my brother, the golden heir, planned to pillage it for his financial empire without even asking me directly. The office door creaked open. Renee Alvarez stepped in, dark curls bouncing, eyes narrowing instantly at my expression. Renee had been my ally since our orientation day 5 years ago. Blunt, fiercely loyal, allergic to sugarcoating. "Spill," she ordered, perching on my desk. Wordlessly, I spun my laptop toward her. She scanned the thread, lips curling into a whistle. "They expect 25 grand from you? And Ethan's hijacking your clients again? Clara, that's not a family. That's a parasite colony." Her words stabbed because they were true. "You can't keep feeding them," Renee pressed. "They'll drain you until there's nothing left." "What exactly have they ever given you back? A cake? A hug? A word of pride?" I swallowed hard, throat tight. "They gave me Ethan." She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, like cancer is a gift." Despite the bitterness, I laughed. It came out cracked and brittle, but it loosened something in my chest. Renee leaned forward, her voice softer now. "Listen, blood doesn't entitle anyone to your success. You've built this on your own. You're allowed to keep it. Hell, you're allowed to build walls to protect it." Her words sank into me like water into parched ground. Protect it. Protect myself. The universe seemed determined to test me immediately. My office phone blinked. Ethan calling. I let it ring twice before answering, keeping my tone as polished as glass. "Clara! Perfect timing," he said breezily. "I need Region Tech's CMO at my dinner tomorrow night. Important potential client. Family helping family, right?" I stared out at the glittering skyline, anger simmering. Family helping family. The phrase sounded like a noose. "I'll see what I can do," I said flatly, and hung up before he could press further. That evening, the warmth of another home greeted me. Mrs. Whitfield, my 84-year-old neighbor, opened her apartment door, the smell of oatmeal cookies wafting into the hall. Tuesday nights had become our ritual, me bringing takeout, her offering dessert and wisdom. "You look troubled, dear," she observed, setting down plates with steady hands. So I told her about the bonus, about the group chat, about Ethan stealing my contacts and my parents demanding $25,000. My voice cracked when I added, "They spelled my name wrong." Mrs. Whitfield reached across the checkered tablecloth and covered my hand with hers. Some parents never see their children clearly. They're too busy staring into their own reflection. Her words lingered with me long after I left. That night, as I stared at the ceiling in my darkened apartment, I knew something with tectonic weight had shifted. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just hurt. I was angry, and anger, when sharpened, becomes power. The Morgan mansion loomed over Lakeshore Drive like a fortress, 3 stories of stone and glass designed to impress. Saturday evening, I pulled into the circular driveway, stomach tight with dread. Inside, Helen fluttered among flower arrangements while Daniel poured himself a scotch, the usual choreography of privilege. Ethan and his wife Julia lounged on the leather sofa, picture perfect with their country club smiles. Dinner unfolded like a script I knew too well. My father's booming voice carried tales of Ethan's promotion, my mother adding polished anecdotes at rehearsed intervals. I sat there, salmon untouched on my plate, waiting for the inevitable. It arrived with dessert. Daniel set his coffee cup down with deliberate precision. "Clara, we need to discuss your contribution to Ethan and Julia's anniversary celebration. 25,000 should cover the venue and catering." The room seemed to shrink. Every eye pivoted toward me, expectation heavy as stone. My mother nodded, her pearl earrings catching the candlelight. "Family supports family, darling. And you've had such good fortune." The words were gasoline on a fire. When had they ever supported me? Who sat in hospital waiting rooms with me after the car accident at 21? Not them. Who celebrated when I landed Horizon's biggest client? Not them. It had always been Ethan. The prodigy, the heir, the legacy. "I can't," I said softly. Daniel blinked, as though I'd spoken in a foreign language. "I beg your pardon? I can't contribute $25,000. My voice steadied, stronger than I felt. "That's a quarter of my bonus. I have other plans for it." The silence that followed was seismic. Forks clinked faintly against porcelain. Julia's smile faltered. Ethan's jaw tightened. Helen's hand flew to her chest. "After everything we've done for you?" she whispered, tears springing instantly, practiced and perfect. Something inside me snapped. "What exactly have you done for me?" The question spilled out raw, cutting through the charade. Daniel's chair scraped against the hardwood as he rose, towering over me, scotch glass in hand. "I will not tolerate ingratitude in this house. Your brother is the true achiever of this family. The least you can do is support his success." The words hit with surgical precision, striking the bruise they'd pressed my entire life. Ethan smirked faintly, a prince shielded by a kingdom built on my silence. But tonight, silence wasn't my role. My legs trembled as I stood, purse clutched in my hand. I need to go. Clara, Helen pleaded, reaching for my arm. Please, don't make a scene. I pulled free. For once, I didn't swallow the pain or paste on a smile. I didn't smooth over the cracks in their perfect family portrait. I walked out the front door, leaving the weight of their expectations behind me. In the car, hands trembling on the steering wheel, I stared at the mansion's glowing windows. For 32 years, I'd been cast as a background character in Ethan's story. Tonight, I'd spoken a single word that shattered the script. No, it felt terrifying. It felt dangerous. And for the first time in my life, it felt right. As the city lights swallowed me on the drive home, I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. The following week, the hum of city traffic outside my window was replaced by the lap of water against a wooden dock. 2 days after I'd walked out of that dinner, I stood barefoot on the deck of a weathered 4-bedroom house in northern Michigan, lake breeze tugging at my hair. This place has been on the market for months, the realtor said, tapping her clipboard. The owners already moved to Arizona. They're motivated sellers. I didn't hesitate. I'll take it. Her eyebrows rose. Don't you want to think it over? Maybe bring your family to see it? No, I said, firmer this time. This is for me. The down payment nearly gutted my bonus, but when the keys landed in my palm a week later, they felt like freedom forged in brass. My first act wasn't to unpack boxes. It was to hang my framed Horizon campaign award above the fireplace, proof that my worth didn't hinge on my last name. Weekends became a ritual of transformation. I painted the exterior a muted sage green, planted wildflowers along the driveway, and filled rooms with fragments of my story. My summa cum laude diploma, bikes, team photos from client celebrations, the magazine spread featuring my PR campaign. In the master bedroom, I carved out something new, a sanctuary. A reading chair by the window, shelves lined with books I'd always been too busy to read, bedding so soft it felt like rebellion. Above the doorway, I hung a wooden sign I'd carved myself. The birthday suite. For once, the celebration was mine. When I hosted a small housewarming, the guests were not Morgans. Renee arrived first, balancing champagne and sarcasm. My boss, Greg, showed up with an expensive Cabernet and a handwritten note. To celebrating yourself. Mrs. Whitfield came last, carrying a quilt stitched from scraps of lake blue and forest green fabric. Every home needs something handmade with love, she said, her eyes crinkling as she hugged me. We grilled steaks on the deck, laughter and music mingling with the sound of waves. I snapped photos, friends sprawled on new furniture, Renee teaching Mrs. Whitfield to dance, the lake burning gold in the sunset. Later, I posted them. Each image a declaration. This is the family that shows up for me. But silence from the Morgans didn't last. By Monday, my phone filled with frantic voicemails. Clara, call us back immediately. Where did you get money for a house? My mother's voice cracked with faux concern. This behavior is reckless. People are asking questions. Your brother says you're hiding things, my father thundered in another message. This reflects poorly on the Morgan name. Even Ethan texted sharp as a whip. Mom's crying every night because of you. Fix this. Fix. As if their neglect, their manipulation, their decades of erasure were mine to repair. I stared out at the lake, autumn leaves drifting across the grass, and something hardened inside me. No more apologies, no more explanations. Instead, I opened the cedar trunk I'd dragged from my old apartment closet. Inside lay 3 photo albums, a stack of receipts, and an old diary with a cracked leather cover. Evidence. Every forgotten birthday, every family trip I wasn't invited to, every moment I'd been erased. If the Morgans wanted a confrontation, I would come armed. Not with tears or anger, with proof. For once in my life, the courtroom would be theirs, but the case would be mine. Tuesday evening, the granite steps of my parents' mansion stretched before me like the steps to a courthouse. I gripped the 3 photo albums against my chest, knuckles white around their edges. This wasn't a dinner. It was a trial. And for once, I wasn't the accused. I was the prosecutor. The heavy oak door swung open. My father, Daniel Morgan, filled the frame. 6'2", silver hair combed into precision, authority oozing from every pore. His eyes flicked to the albums in my arms, then back to my face. You're late, he said, turning without waiting for an answer. Inside, Helen sat poised in the foyer, tissues already clutched in her manicured hands. Her eyes were rimmed in red, though I doubted real tears had fallen. Clara, she said in a voice trembling with rehearsed fragility. We've been so worried. Ethan appeared from the living room, whiskey in hand, his smile faltering when he saw what I carried. The dining room table was set with china and silver, candles flickering in tall holders, a bribe masquerading as hospitality. I placed the albums at the center of the table like evidence on the stand and took my usual seat. Daniel served himself first, carving into beef Wellington. "Your mother tells me you've been impulsive," he said between deliberate cuts. "Buying that lake house without consulting us. Reckless, poor financial planning." I folded my hands. It was my bonus money. Money that could have been invested properly, or used to support something meaningful, like your brother's celebration. Ethan cleared his throat. "No one's saying you can't have nice things, Clara. But selling the house might be the best way to keep peace in the family." Helen dabbed her eyes with a tissue that stayed perfectly dry. "You're breaking your mother's heart," she whispered. I rose from my chair, pulled the first album toward me, and opened it with a snap. Pages of Ethan as a child filled the glossy spreads. Birthday cakes, towers of presents, smiling relatives. I slid it toward him. Turned to page 16. He hesitated, then obeyed. His 18th birthday. A new car with a bow. Daniel handing him the keys. Helen crying real tears of joy. Next, I opened the second album. This one was nearly empty. Sparse snapshots. Me with a store-bought cupcake. Me alone with a candle. A photo of Mrs. Whitfield hugging me at 30. "This is mine," I said. There was nothing to fill it with. I flipped open the third. Vacations, Disney World, Paris, the Grand Canyon. Photo after photo without me. "You called these family trips," I said evenly, but I wasn't there. Grandma's couch, summer camps, excuses about money. Daniel's face darkened. "What is the point of this melodrama?" "The point," I said, sliding a spreadsheet across the table, "is evidence. Numbers highlighted in yellow. Tuition, down payments, gifts, allowances." Ethan's column glowed with thousands. Mine barely scratched hundreds. Finally, I pulled out a worn diary page. My handwriting? Age 9. Maybe next year they'll remember my birthday without Grandma calling to remind them. The silence was suffocating. Helen's hands trembled as she took the page. Daniel rose, fists clenched. "Enough. You've always been dramatic, Clara. Always the difficult one." For once, I didn't shrink. I reached into the last folder and held up a photograph. Christmas dinner, 3 years ago. A table full of smiling faces, one empty chair with my name on a place card. "I was working in Chicago that night," I said quietly. "You knew I couldn't come, but you staged this photo and sent it to me with 'We missed you.' You wanted me to feel guilty. Look closely." I tapped the card. "That's not even my usual seat. That's where the guests sit. Even when you pretend I belong, I'm still an outsider." Daniel's jaw worked, but no words came. Helen's tears finally spilled, smearing her mascara. Ethan stared at the photographs, his expression unreadable. I gathered my purse, leaving the albums behind. "You wanted me here tonight," I said, my voice calm, deliberate. "Now you have proof. You favored Ethan. You erased me. And I don't need your approval anymore." I turned toward the door, every step unhurried, shoulders squared. Behind me, Helen sobbed. Daniel seethed. Ethan muttered my name. But I didn't look back. The door closed with a quiet click that echoed like thunder. For the first time, I felt the weight of my family's judgment fall away. And in its place, something terrifying, something exhilarating. Freedom. 1 year later, the morning sun painted the lake in molten gold as I arranged a tray of fruit and champagne on the cedar deck. 33 candles waited on the cake Renee had insisted on baking herself. 1 for every year, plus 1 for luck. My red sundress fluttered in the breeze, the air crisp with September promise. The lake house was alive with laughter. Horizon colleagues spilled onto the deck, glasses clinking, music humming in the background. Greg, now more mentor than boss, handed me another bottle of Cabernet with a note scrawled in his looping handwriting. To the woman who built her own legacy. Mrs. Whitfield sat comfortably in a wicker chair, quilt draped across her lap, watching everything with quiet pride. My phone buzzed with messages, but this time, not from the Morgans. Congratulations on my promotion to senior director flooded in from clients and coworkers. For once, my achievements were celebrated openly, without being eclipsed. "Clara?" Renee lifted her mimosa high. "To the birthday girl who finally chose herself." The toast rippled into cheers, glasses raised, warmth wrapping around me. For the first time, the words landed without resistance. I wasn't an afterthought anymore, not here. A car door slammed out front. The sound sliced through the celebration like a blade. My stomach tightened. I knew that engine growl. Ethan's BMW. Conversations dulled as he appeared at the edge of the deck, shoulders stiff, a wrapped package in his hands. "I don't want to intrude," he said, eyes flicking across the guests before landing on me. I needed to give you this in person. The old Clara would have bristled, pushed him away. But a year of therapy, of unlearning, of rebuilding, had softened the raw edges. Come in, I said quietly. Later, as the party shifted indoors, Ethan and I sat at the dock's edge, legs dangling above the water. He placed the package between us. Neither of us touched it at first. Therapy's been eye-opening, he admitted, staring at the horizon. Dad still won't go, but Mom tries. She talks about you differently now. And you? I asked, bracing. He sighed. I never saw it before. How they erased you while spotlighting me. I thought it was normal. His voice cracked. It wasn't. I unwrapped the package. Inside was a framed photograph. Me at 7, perched on our old tire swing, laughing at something just out of frame. A photo I'd never seen. Found it in Dad's storage boxes, Ethan explained. Had it restored. Proof you existed even when nobody was looking. My throat tightened, tears threatening. Not a solution, but a beginning. The next knock came at twilight. Through the glass doors, I saw my mother, alone, clutching a small bakery box. Ethan glanced at me, guilty. She begged. I didn't tell her where until today. Helen's hands trembled as she held out the box. Inside sat a single cupcake. Carrot cake, my favorite. Happy birthday, Clara, she whispered. Her smile faltered into something fragile, almost real. I remembered. For the first time in decades, I saw no performance in her eyes. Just a woman trying clumsily to cross a bridge she'd burned herself. The party's winding down, I said slowly. You can stay for cake if you'd like. Relief flooded her face. Small steps. No forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe space for a different kind of beginning. Later, after everyone left, I walked back to the dock, lake rippling under the dusk sky. My phone buzzed with a message from Mrs. Whitfield. Did you enjoy your day, dear? I smiled, typing back. For the first time, I truly celebrated myself. Behind me, the lake house windows glowed with warmth. Ahead, the horizon stretched wide and unclaimed. I raised my glass toward the sunset, whispering into the evening air. Happy birthday, Clara. This time, I meant it. Twilight draped the lake in velvet shadows as I sat alone on the deck, the last flickers of celebration still humming in my chest. The party had ended hours ago, but its echoes clung to the cedar boards. The laughter of friends, the clinking of glasses, the quilt Mrs. Whitfield had left folded neatly over the railing. The house smelled of candles and vanilla cake, not of tension or unspoken accusations. For once, my home was filled only with voices that celebrated me. The cupcake box sat on the table beside me, one bite missing from its carrot cake crown. Helen's attempt at reconciliation lingered in my mind. Awkward, late, fragile, but real in a way I thought impossible. For years, she had perfected tears as performance, love as manipulation. Tonight, I saw something stripped bare, a woman reckoning with the daughter she had ignored into adulthood. Ethan's gift leaned against the deck railing, the photograph of 7-year-old me smiling from the restored frame. I studied the child in the picture, her head tilted back in unfiltered laughter. She didn't know yet about forgotten birthdays, erased vacations, or the ache of invisibility. She only knew the joy of a swing and the sound of wind rushing past her ears. I raised my glass of wine to that girl. You deserved better, I whispered, but I'll give it to you now. The lake answered with the soft lap of waves against the shore. For years, I'd confused validation with survival, clinging to scraps of recognition, mistaking crumbs for meals. But the truth had settled over me like the cool night air. Family is not defined by blood. It is built by those who show up, who see you, who honor your existence without conditions. I thought of Renee's fierce loyalty, of Greg's respect, of Mrs. Whitfield's quiet wisdom stitched into a quilt. These were the people who formed the scaffolding of my new life. Chosen family. Proof that love could be steady, not transactional. Tomorrow my parents would likely call again. Daniel would thunder about duty and image. Helen might backslide into tears and guilt. Ethan, maybe, would keep trying to bridge the gap, but tonight their voices held no power here. I had carved a sanctuary in wood and water, and its boundaries were mine alone to defend. As stars pierced the indigo sky, I set my phone down deliberately. No more chasing, no more waiting for them to see me. I had built my own legacy, brick by brick, choice by choice. And with each choice, I had rewritten the narrative they tried to script for me. I lifted my glass once more, to the woman I had become. Stronger, unafraid, whole. To freedom, I said softly, letting the words dissolve into the night. The wind stirred, carrying the scent of pine and lake water, and for the first time in 33 years, I felt weightless. What gift have you given yourself that changed everything?